Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you are doing great. Hope that all is pleasant for you. And most importantly, my friends, I hope that you are in good health. Once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. On this channel, my friends, we get to talk about those things that people know, that people have thought about, but don't often have the time to discuss. These, my friends, are the things we discuss here on the Common Sense channel. So, once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. Today, we're going to be talking about why Africa is next on the dinner table of global affairs. Why Africa is next on the dinner table. And today, we're going to talk about these things because I think Africa should wake up, should start to pay attention, should learn from what's happening. When I say Africa, I'm not talking about those who are enjoying the fruits of colonialism. I'm talking about those who want to see the unity and strength of the African peoples. I'm talking about the young people. I'm talking about those who are suffering from the greed and from the selfishness of those who are in power. I'm talking to them to start to push the necessary measure to get leaders, true leaders now, revolutionary leaders in Africa to see that most of the wars that are being fought in our world today are being fought for raw materials. This, my friend, was the case in the 40s when a man rose up named Hitler. Hitler rose up in Germany and started a conquest for raw material. He probably may have checked in most places in Europe and couldn't find what he wanted. But he knew there's one place in Europe, although they don't think Russia is part of Europe. They think, some Europeans think that Russia is more with West Asia than they are with Europe, but Russia is part of Europe. And Hitler wanted to go there. So was the case of Napoleon. It's the case of Hitler too, because Hitler, a lot of people don't know, he understood history. When they talk of Hitler, they talk of him as a madman, crazy. But if you study, if you pay attention to what he was fighting for, not the revisionist history they told you of Hitler. That not just that we all taught that. I was taught that in school too, in schools of this man. But fascinating human being. They don't want us to talk about him. They hate him so bad that they distorted the whole history about Hitler. But those are all revisionist history. But yeah, what he was fighting for was raw materials. He was trying to make Germany great. He just wanted to be left alone. He was trying to move away from global affairs. He was trying to extract Germany because Germany at that time was just like Iran. You understand? I just want to give you a little bit of history because history kind of repeats itself. Again, this is for educational purposes. I don't want to state that, but I'm going to say it again. as I've always done in my videos. I'm going to do it again for educational purposes. Because some people think every human beings are stupid. I'm a lover of history. I've always been fascinated about history since I was a kid. Because those who knows the history will never be conquered. Will never be conquered. Will never be subdued. You understand? That's how it is. Only those who don't know their history, only those who refuse to accept themselves, only those who refuse to accept their ancestors, only those who refuse to accept their tradition and culture will be subjugated, will be subdued. And that's why I'm doing this video for Africa. Because when you look at the continent, every day, the continent is disgracing us Africans that live in the diaspora. Our main wish or wishes is for the continent to be better. I look forward to a day when Africa can stand up in one voice and say to the world, we will not be subdued. We will not be colonized. We will fight for the next generation. Because it's not about you. This whole thing that we're going through in life, all the wars, destruction, famine, diseases, this is not about us. We have to make the world a better place. That would be healing the world of disease. Those things that are not good for humanity. That's what this whole thing is about. Why are we supposed to do these things? To stop all wars, heal the world of diseases, famine, destruction, all these things. It's because of the next generation. And also because we are the steward. The world has been given to us. We are the steward of the world. But wherever there is money to be made, wherever there is raw materials, especially natural materials, wherever there's technological advances, wherever there are breakthroughs, it's going to be war. And if Africa is sitting there and not thinking that they are sitting on gold, diamonds, all the natural resources that technology will need for the future in the advent of AI, if you're not thinking that you are sitting on these things and you next, something is wrong. And whatever is wrong, because I know the Africans were not created by a lesser God, even though they have abandoned their ancestors, they have abandoned their religion, they have abandoned their culture, they have abandoned the tradition, they have abandoned everything. And we know history is proving over and over, any civilization, any race of people, any culture of people that abandon their ancestral practices, their ancestral religion and cultural values, tradition, those people are bound to be subdued by those who are powerful. And not only that, those who want to just try their luck will try it on you because you're weak. So anyone watching this video from Africa, any of our leaders, we call them leaders, but these are not leaders that are thinking about ways to make Africa stand up. If you don't know, some of you African leaders, Africa is the mother of all human race, all civilization. And the mother of all civilization must always be exalted, because without her, Mother Earth would bear nothing. It is out of her bosom that comes life, that comes creation. But even if I say these things, it won't matter to you, because you have been subdued mentally. And even the truth nowadays doesn't exist. But here's the thing. I think until you have them knocking at your door, those powerful nations, knocking at your door and saying, we are coming in whether you like it or not, maybe that would be the game changer for you. So I'm doing this video to say to Africa, with everything happening in the Middle East, I don't think America is going to fall. This country is bigger. It's a big fish. You understand? America is a great nation. Like, you don't know because you don't live here. But if you live in this country, you know. If America was to fall, it would have been happened during the American Civil War. For those of you that don't understand the American history, I'm a lover of history, so I pay attention to everything. Everywhere I go, I pay attention to not just history of a place. I pay attention to history of the people too. Americans are not people who are weak. They're not weak. And any civilization is not weak. You cannot subdue. You only subdue weak-minded people. If you are hanging out with your friends, everything you tell them is what they do. They never want to question you. At some point, you can tell them, go do something over there. They'll do it. That's what it means, subdue. Because you notice that they don't have minds of their own. This is not the story of America. Look, ordinary men and women stood up against the greatest empire on the planet at that time, and fought them and won. All it took was the will of the people. The American story is something that keeps going back, but it never failed. So whatever is happening in the Middle East, it's not going to change that. But when America pull out from the Middle East, eventually, if they do pull out, and those Arab countries fragmented, which I think that's where they are going, I don't pay much relevance to those kingdoms, because those kingdoms can fall. And they can fall from within too, and that's what's going to happen. They can fall from within. But say the power of America pulled out of the so-called Middle East, where do you think is next? Africa has what America wants in the Middle East, which is oil. If anyone tells you we're going to have a world where we move away from oil, they're probably not telling you the truth. We are not going to move away from oil that easily. Let me show you a movie to watch. It's I think Max is the movie. Mel Gibson is the lead actor. They say Max Warrior. That's the newer version of that movie, Max Warrior. You watch that movie. You know what they're fighting for in the entire movie? Oil. That's what they're fighting for. Oil. You see, like some of you, when you watch movie, you're not paying attention to some of the things the directors of these movies are telling you what the whole situation is about. They're fighting for oil and raw materials because they have to survive. Powerful nation would fight for these things. It's not about equality. It's not about human rights. It's not about justice. None of these things exist. Is that just on piece of paper? Who guarantees them is the question. Who guarantees your freedom? Who guarantees justice for you? Who guarantees equality for you is the question. Who does that? Is it the United Nations? Is it the ICC? Do they have the power? Who gives them the power? You understand? Africa is for you. So stop relying on these systems that are out here that wasn't even designed for you. The founding of the United Nations, when the United Nations was founded, I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2 or 3 African countries were represented at that founding. I can say not all of Southeast Asia was there. Vietnam wasn't there. Taiwan wasn't there. South Korea wasn't there. not to mention North Korea. None of these, most of these Arab countries were not part of that formation. You understand? So whatever was done in the formation of the United Nations was only done for the victors, the powerful nations. If Russia had not sacrificed millions, let me tell you, there were millions of Russians that died during the Second War. I often call it the European Civil War. Hmm? So they had to have been part of that formation, even though the Cold War was there, getting ready for the Cold War. But they had to include them because we're talking about history. We're talking about real history, things that happened. You understand? All you Africans countries, even the African countries like Ethiopia and Liberia, I think Liberia was there. These countries, they were just there. They probably didn't even say nothing. They're just sitting there. So what I'm saying is this. Now is the time. If you don't want to be like what the Sahel are doing, you can break Africa into confederation. You can break Africa into blocks and then have troops in those blocks, like what is happening in the Sahel. That way, if something were to happen, any of these powerful nations were to attack you after they fall in the so-called Middle East, because based on what we're seeing now, I don't think America is going to remain relevant. I don't want to say America Trump, because that's not America's war. It's Trump's war. I don't think Trump is going to remain relevant in that Middle East. Because look, right now, we're not looking at the news, the traditional news, because the traditional news, they don't tell you what you need to know. So you have to find other ways to understand the whole thing. Because I think each of us, especially we are citizens of this country or citizens of the world, we have to be in tune to what's happening. You don't want something happening and then you don't know what to do because your media are not telling you what you need to know. So you have to find other alternative to understanding what's happening in the world and around you. So should in case something happen, you know exactly what to do, how to protect those people you love, those people that are around you, your neighbors, and just give them advice. Because let me tell you, the system will keep you distracted from the real thing. So you have the real situation. Say they're doing something here, and they know that that could have an adverse effect on you. They can put something right here to distract you. And on my channel, I don't pay attention to those distractions because I know they're not relevant to my existence. You understand? But whatever is going on between Iran, now we see it spreading through the Houthis. The Houthis, you need to study the history too. The people of Yemen, you need to study their history. Let me tell you, all these people, to understand it, you got to know their history. Even though they are Arab, but they're not like Arab. Sometimes I want to believe that most of the Arabs in that country are probably not from there. There could be Europeans too, who knows? There could be just like the state of Israel. Maybe. But you need to study not the one they hid from you, but you need to do some research on these. And those people are not really Arab because some of the things they do are not. That sometimes doesn't align with their religious values, but they still do them. Because if you look at your religion, even Islam forbids killing, unnecessary killings. So is Christianity. But it doesn't mean that you can't kill. In Christianity, it said, thou shalt not kill. But people do that stuff all the time. So these are just main rules. And then when you kill someone, you get judged here. But it don't mean you can't kill. So it's Islam too. They have their own justification for why you should kill. But these are just man-made things. If people are actually practicing their religion, maybe killing wouldn't even happen in the first place, because that's what the religion said you shouldn't do. But yeah, so what's happening in the Middle East, I don't think those kingdoms, if this continue, I don't think Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, I don't think that those kingdoms are going to be around. And if you look at what's happening now with Trump and his war in Iran, you see they've destroyed most of the bases, most of the radar, all the eyes. These are eyes that can see when your enemy is about to attack you. You see them from a distance. That give you enough time to prepare for them, to face them. But when they've destroyed all that, they can attack you anytime. And I don't want to say this is a prediction, but I think looking at what I see, I think maybe Iran might want to do that. Might want to do that. But they may not do it now. They know what they're doing. They're strategic. And they got all these proxies around that whole place. So yeah, Africa. If America, and it's not just America in there now, all the Western countries are in there too, including the nemesis, their enemies, Russia, China, North Korea. These are the people fighting over there. All the powerful nations. They are fighting for control of natural resources. Resources, my friend. And if it don't work, if Iran triumph, which I think looking at it looks like it looks most likely that they will. I don't think any bombing is going to scare them right now. I don't think, maybe even nuclear bomb is not going to scare them. Yeah, I don't think Trump will even think about doing stuff like that. No one is going to allow him to do stuff like that. It's not going to happen. So I see a lot of people like, oh yeah, Trump gonna, no, not going to happen, man. He's not even going to think about that. Yeah, no one is going to push him. Even Israel is not going to do stuff like that. I know they might want to get rid of whatever is bothering them, whatever they think is bothering them. But I don't think even if they have the means, that's not something they want to do. Because this is not 1945. The world is way advanced. Because if you try that, it's not going to be good. And that's the reason why each of us must open our eyes. Each of us that love humanity, that love the world and everyone therein, must start to pay attention. We must filter through our information, because those days where you have one news media or two news media, every information you get has to pass through them. Those days are gone. Now, any of us can become a reporter. You don't have to wait for some professional reporter to report anything. Like, you can report. Each of us are reporters in our own ranks or whatever status. So, yeah, Africa, you're next. Africa, I think you need to start to follow in the footsteps of what is happening in the Sahel. If you are truly an African, I'm not saying that there are not Africans on the continent that cares about the development and the rise of the continent. I know there are millions. There are millions of well-wishers out here too, including me. I want to see a day when Africa become powerful, because that way I can put my head high up and say, yes, finally we're going to get some respect, because whatever happens on the continent, it makes us look low. So that's the reason why we want the continent to do better. I think raising the lives of the people. China has shown Africa that it's possible. The Sons of Africa, Ibrahim Traore, is showing you. The Sahel states confederation is showing that this is possible, that Africa can unite. Even if they don't want to unite as a one country, they can unite as a confederation. And then with time, they can start to trade with each other. And then eventually they become one. It's not just like telling an alcoholic or a drugs addict to stop what they're doing. It don't work like that. People don't just stop doing things that they are programmed to do. It takes time for them to move away from that, to wean themselves out of that, whatever it is that they're doing, whether if they're doing drugs, they're taking alcohol, whatever it is that they're doing, it takes time. You can't just pull them out and say, hey, you out. No, it don't work like that. So I think with time, break into confederation. So that way, when any of these powerful countries, because they are there, they have money, they have power and control. When they attack you, at least you can coalesce around each other. If someone attacks Uganda, Uganda cannot fight by herself. When someone attacks Kenya or Nigeria or Ghana or Togo or Benin, they can't fight by themselves. Because you're going to be like, I'm a sovereign nation, so I can fight my own battle. In a week time, they'll take you out. But when you fight as a group, it is difficult. Or when you fight as one body. I'm saying this to say to you, Africa, that you next. Because the Iranian people, just look at the history though. Just look at the history. You look at someone's history. These people, they got tired in 1979 of puppetry. They took over their country. They call themselves the Iranian Revolutionary country. They're revolutionists. They didn't choose communism. They choose an Islamic state based on their religious belief, their cultural values. They say, we don't mind if we don't deal with you. If you're not willing to accept who we are, we're going to be here. Our ancestors live here, and our ancestors live here, they bled here and died. And they invented their own system. They try, say, okay, well, we can't remain isolated. Let's try to open up to the world. But in the process of doing that, we are not going to be subjugated. We're not going to be subdued. That's a people that understands their culture, their values, their tradition. You understand? Because I often say, religion is not as powerful as culture or tradition. You understand? Any ones that bring their religion to you, they have to adhere to your cultural value one way or the other. And that's true in the case of Africa. The way Christianity, I'm going to do a video on this, the way Christianity is practiced in Europe, in European countries, or in any Western countries, that's not how it's practiced in Africa. Because Africa has been able to infuse some of their cultural values and belief system into their religion. And they're okay with it as long as you follow the core principles of their religion. You can't speak against Jesus or the Prophet Muhammad. As long as you're not doing that, you're fine. Now, those people who do that, they get in trouble, as was the case recently with Ibrahim Traore. Ibrahim Traore is a Muslim. He was born a Muslim, grew up a Muslim, still practiced the religion. But he said, this is for Africa again, which is brilliant, that you can study your religion, but do something that will benefit the country. You know, do something that will bring about growth and development. You go to Saudi Arabia, that's where the foundation of Islam is. Mecca is in Saudi Arabia. But the Saudis don't sit there reading the Quran the whole day. They don't sit there reading the Quran word for word. They don't put their entire time and energy in the Quran. They go out there and involve in technological advances, development. Look at Saudi Arabia. What Saudi Arabia is today, 60 years ago wasn't like that. So imagine if they were just reading the Quran. constantly, do you think they're going to be where they are? But it chose a different path. That's what he was saying to the Africans in his country. And I think the people of Burkina Faso get the message. They get it. Any leader that will rise up in Africa, you must put the peoples first. If you do that, they'll follow you. Yes, every country, even this country where I live, the great United States, the reason why a lot of people voted for Trump is because he was saying he was going to put this country first, the people first. When you do that, they will follow. And I don't care how hard and strong their hearts are, they'll follow you. It don't mean they're stupid. It just mean that someone is talking about the things that they want, the things that they care about. And that's what you African leaders need to do. If you're not going to unite as one country or one continent, break into confederation. When you do that, that way you're stronger. And if, say, France wouldn't attack like what they're doing in the Sahel, trying to destabilize the country. It's not the French people that are doing that, but the people who wants this raw material in their country, the industrialists, the capitalists, they got to keep their country going. If you think about it, it's not what they're doing is not even wrong. But if you don't allow that, it wouldn't happen. Let me tell you, a capitalist would work with you, an industrialist will work with you if you're willing to work with them, if you're not weak, if you're not easy to compromise, they will work with you. But if you're easy to compromise, they see a little loopholes, they'll take advantage of it. Any of us would do that. If you're a small business person and you notice that you can claim this, you can claim that on your taxes, if that loophole is there, you would take advantage of it. Because at the end of the day, you're in business for profit, right? So it's the same thing they're doing. But leaders like Chiani, the Guaita, and the Tuaregs, they stand up, these industrialists and capitalists, because whatever France is doing, they're not doing that in the name of the French people, although you can say that. But they're doing that because they need to keep their country going. They don't have the things that you have. So in order to get that, they must do what they have to do to get these things. So it's the same thing. Understand? So in as much as you want to look at the situation at that level and say, oh, they're taking advantage of you, they're just doing what they got to do. But when you position yourself with one voice, even though they're not going to allow that, why is it? Because whatever you are, that's what they are. You speak their language. Your entire history is written in their language. They colonize you. Most of the educated people in your country went to school in their country. So they are you are them. The only way you can be free is when you start to retrieve some of those things that they have programmed you with and reclaim yourself. That's why I always say discover yourself. You cannot be free if you think like the person that colonized you. You're not free. Maybe you may think you're free, but you're not. Everything that's in your head is them. So you're still not free. The only way you can free is start to reclaim yourself. And that's why China was doing all that re-education camp. Re-education camp is to take away all of the things that you've been programmed and put them aside and infuse something new into you. And that could be generational too. It could be now if you're really bent on that. That's why it took China all these years to be where they are today. You have to re-educate everyone. Say, this is who you are. This is who our people are. This is our tradition. This is our custom. This is our culture. And you must know these things. And then once you get the people to that level, All of you are going to move in one direction. Some of the things that they say about China, it's not what is out there. You just need to do your research, you see. Imagine a country, I can say a continent, where there are billions of people. These people can easily rise up, but go check their living condition and see how they're living. They don't tell you. These propagandists out here, they don't tell you the truth. And this is for you, Africa. Look, Africa, you have all the blueprint, all of the solution, you know them. You see, the Sahel, they're just implementing the things that other people are doing. The Saudis, look at how backward they were 60, 70 years ago. Look at them today. They turned an entire desert, the place where people said nothing could grow, they turned it into a heaven. It's possible. But you have to unite. You have to bring, and they take care of the people too. Yeah, the Saudis, they take care of the people. Yeah, they do. They share their wealth. You don't see them traveling outside like that. If they do, they're spending their money. You see, so take care of your people. That's what the Sahels are doing. And we're watching them, because that's what we hope for. So we too that live in the diaspora can have some respect. We yearn for respect, because the only way we're going to gain respect is when that continent is doing better. So Africa, you next. If you don't get your act together, these powerful nations, they're coming to your doors. And when they come to your doors, anyone that resists, if you're not united, you're gone. They'll take it from within, too. You see, that's what they tried to do in Iran. They tried to take it from within. But the people stood up and say no. Because why? They know their culture. They know their values. You see? Every great civilization is destroyed from within. That's why I'm doing America. There's not going to be no civil war in this country. Not going to be no civil war. Don't listen to all that garbage. No civil war in this country. It's not going to happen. If you just, and those people that are saying that, I think it's treasonous too to say that. Because you're talking about a country that has more guns than schools. Yeah, that has more guns than schools. That has more guns than hospitals. That has more guns than jobs. Imagine what would happen. It's not like during the 1860s or 1861s. No, it's a terrible time. So you're talking about civil war. That should, anyone that be talking stuff like that, that should be treasonous. You know, even though I know we live in a country where freedom of speech, I'm a great advocate for freedom of speech. But yeah, I think no one should be saying that. America is not going to fight, because it's a great civilization, great people. Not saying it because of anything. I'm saying it because I live here and I know, I see it. No one needs to explain to me anything about America, because I know I live here. You know, and that's why I hope and pray that the progressive spirit of this country take over, so that we can try to get rid of some of the division. I said it before and I'll say it again. The only way, I did a video on this, that America can take back this country from those people who are plundering it, is to have a coalition of leftist and MAGA progressive, and MAGA and leftist progressive. Because leftists are progressive. They are the children of progressivism, the great-great-grandchildren of progressivism. What does that mean? They want it now and must have it now. So yeah, I hope that Africa can pay attention to what's happening in the so-called Middle East. Because I used to be Africa. I hope that they can pay keen attention. The wannabe leaders now. I'm not the puppet ones. I don't want to use the word because YouTube, you don't even know what the trigger is, so YouTube is going to flag it anyway. But yeah, the puppet leaders, I know your days are numbers. But those who really care about the people, that care about the citizens of Africa, that want to see Africa united. I'm not talking about AU. AU is not doing anything on that level. But those leaders that really care about Africa, care about not just the blacks Africans that live on the continent, but care about those of us that live outside of the continent. That would be people in the Caribbean, people in South America, people in Europe that are African descent, people in Australia, across the globe. For those of you leaders in Africa that sees us and care about us, we also think of you too. It's time that you push for, if not unity of the continent, all the states of these little small hamlets of towns coming together as one, but break into confederation, just like the Sahel is doing. And then that way you can form a bloc. You see what they're doing in Turkey, I think Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. You see what they're doing? They're forming a bloc, coalition. Why? To fight against who? I know Pakistan is not going to fight against Iran. They're not going to do that. Pakistan, even the leader tried that nonsense. The Pakistani people are different. Let me tell you, again, I'm going to say this. There are people on this planet that are different. The Pakistani people, gosh, you see them, they're like Muslim, they're this, you call them all sort of name, but these are tough people. Study when they started with India. It used to be one country. True. And they break away. That whole Bangladesh, Pakistani, that used to be all India. Indo-India. That's what I mean. Indo-India. So there are people in our world, Africans, that you cannot subdue. They are not like that. They're not puppet. No puppet. No puppet. Yeah, no puppet. What does that mean? Puppet doesn't have a mind of his or her own. That's why we say puppet. Because people are pulling the strings for them. And they're pulling the strings the way they want to pull it. How long would you have someone pulling your strings and you cannot pull their strings too? If someone is pulling your strings, you should be able to pull their strings. You know what I call equity, called equality. It's called justice. It's called integrity. It's called principles. It's called values. It's also called self-determination. And we can also call it standing up for yourself, standing up for your people, and standing up for the continent of Africa. Because if you're done, anyone can mess with you. And your disunity is what will make them subdue you. You understand? So as I've always said, I want to say thanks to all those people who watch my videos. Those who are subscribed to my channel, I want to thank you. Those who continue to watch my videos, including those who share my videos, I want to honor you. And as I've always said, the greatest thing that could ever happen to you is not the day you were born, not the day you had your first car, the day you graduated from high school, college, the day you became a lawyer, doctor, a carpenter, plumber, electrician, none of that stuff. The greatest thing that could ever happen to you is the day you discover yourself. Because from that day on, everything, my friends, will start to make sense to you, including understanding those things that are obvious and those things that will destroy your civilization, your culture, and eventually your people in Africa. If you don't pay attention to what's happening in the Middle East, when those who want what you want, or what you have, not what you want, what you have, when they are coming at you, you will stand no chance. It's business. It's not personal for those who want what you have. It's all about business. And if you're united together, they have two choices: to work with you or to take it by force. For the most time, for the most case, or for the most part, they take it by force. So stand united. If you don't want to unite the whole continent, establish a confederation. Learn from other civilization in the world how they did it and what make them great. Thank you and have a great day. Thanks.